Hello and welcome to Before the Novel, From Arthur to Aphra. I'm Rachel Stenner. I'm a teaching associate in Renaissance literature in the School of English, and this module, which is all about the development of a new form of writing, prose fiction, comes out of my research interests in Renaissance literature more widely, especially in prose fiction, in the ways that medieval literature relates to Renaissance literature, and also in print culture, and within that, women as cultural producers. So how do women create and consume texts within the realm of print? So before the novel, there was prose fiction, an amorphous, hybrid, radical, experimental, and to some threatening form of writing. What we're going to do on this module is trace the evolution of this new genre out of medieval romance and up to the point where the novel is often seen to take off, with works like Daniel Defoe's Robinson Crusoe and Samuel Richardson's novel Pamela. Here are some of the ideas that are going to be present in the texts that we're going to read. So we'll be thinking about exploration and colonialism. We'll be looking at elements of these texts which can be to do with early sci-fi, and here I'm thinking about the ways that they both explore new worlds and fantasize other worlds into being. We'll also be thinking about sexual violence, about homoeroticism. There are many cross-dressing heroes and heroines in these texts. And when we start to think about the critical debates around these texts, we'll be looking at female authorship and what makes prose fiction a productive form for female writers in the 17th century especially to use. We'll also think about how prose fiction was received by its earliest readers. It was condemned by many as being lewd and importing scandalous plots from Italian fiction. And we're going to have a very close eye on how the style of prose writing in fiction changes from the late 15th century through the 16th century and up until the late 17th century. So here are some of the books that you're going to read or read parts of. And if you just look at the date range, you can see that this module explores writing from the late medieval period, the early modern, the Restoration and the early Enlightenment. There are lots of first texts here, and by that I mean texts that do things for the first time, which suggests how innovative these writings are for their own time. So Sir Thomas Malory's Morte d'Arthur is the first prose compendium of Arthurian material in English, so stories about Arthur and the Knights of the Round Table. Alongside Beware the Cat, a personal favourite of mine about speaking felines, is The Image of Idleness, which could have been written by William Baldwin, but either way is one of the earliest epistolary fictions that we have, i.e. it's written in the form of an exchange of letters. And then we have The Countess of Montgomery's Urania, which is the first work of original prose fiction by a woman that we have recorded. And in this last section of the module, we have Roth, we have Cavendish, and we have Bain alongside each other, which is going to enable us to focus quite closely on ideas about female authorship and that question I mentioned earlier about how prose fiction is a very productive form for women to write in. So what happens as regards assessment? Well, the assessment on this module is designed to keep you writing regularly, to develop your ideas, to pursue your research interests, and to develop yourself as a researcher. So to that end, there are weekly mole postings, there's a research presentation on a topic of your choice. You'll be required to submit an essay abstract and a research bibliography, and you'll write a research essay which has got the highest weighting of all the assessments on the module. The module will be taught through one seminar a week and one other session which will either be a lecture or a workshop. And also near the beginning of the module we will go over to special collections in the library to look at the very interesting and quite rare 16th century copies of Sir Thomas More's Utopia, one of the texts we're going to read, so that we can start getting a sense of how these works were produced as material objects, what they're like as books, and how might that affect how we're receiving them. Other information that you need to know is that there are no prerequisites for this module. It's open to anyone. The reading will largely come from Norton, from the Literature Online database and from this anthology, edited by Paul Saltzman. And I put up there the learning outcomes of the module. These are the things we're trying to achieve. Finally, here's my contact information. Do please drop me an email, give me a call, or pop by my room in Jessup West to see me if you want to discuss this, if you have any questions at all. And if you want to know more about me, you can go to my School of English profile page. Thank you very much.